It had been a long week, one filled with endless deadlines, a pile of unopened emails, and a brain that hadn't stopped racing since Monday. But tonight was different. Tonight was Friday. And Friday nights in our house had a tradition. It was movie night. My 16-year-old son, Caleb, had already called dibs on picking the movie, and judging by the excitement in his voice when I got home, I knew he'd picked something worth watching. The house smelled of microwave popcorn and the kind of cheap pizza that still made me nostalgic for college days. Caleb greeted me in the living room, remote in hand, hoodie on, and a mischievous grin on his face. "You're just in time," he said. "Movie starts in 3, 2. The screen lit up with the Netflix logo before I even got a chance to take off my shoes. I smiled. Caleb had my husband's humor, my eyes, and a quiet soul that made me worry about him sometimes. Since John passed away 3 years ago, it had just been the two of us. And though Caleb rarely spoke about his dad, I knew the loss weighed on him in silence. As we curled into the couch, the movie began. It was one of those twisty thrillers with plot lines that never went where you expected. I kept glancing at Caleb, who seemed glued to the screen, barely blinking. His hoodie swallowed half his face, but his eyes stayed sharp and alive. Halfway through the movie, the power flickered. Just once. Then twice. Then total blackness. The screen cut out. The lights dimmed. I groaned. "Seriously? Not again." Caleb chuckled. "This house needs new wiring." "I need a new life," I muttered under my breath with a weak laugh. We both sat still in the darkness. The rain outside had picked up, and the soft patter against the windows added a strange mood to the already eerie movie. "Want me to check the fuse box?" I asked, getting up. "No, wait," Caleb said, grabbing a flashlight. "Let's just wait a minute. It might come back on." So we sat there, wrapped in blankets. We ended up talking instead, something we hadn't done properly in months. We talked about school, the people he missed, his dreams, his fears. His voice trembled when he said, "Sometimes I wonder if he'd be proud of me."
Dad, I mean.
My heart squeezed. "Oh, Caleb," I whispered. "He'd be proud of you every single day." There was a silence between us, one that said more than words. And just when I thought we were about to drift into quiet again, the lights blinked back on. The movie resumed where it left off. But everything had changed. Not in the movie, but between us. Something opened in Caleb and in me too. Something vulnerable and real. It wasn't just movie night anymore. It was memory-making. But then, the movie took an unexpected turn. One of the characters, a mother and son duo, wasn't who they claimed to be. The son, adopted unknowingly, uncovered a hidden past about his real parents. Caleb leaned in, visibly tense. "Weird timing," he said, half joking. "Yeah." I laughed softly, but my stomach twisted. Something about his reaction felt off.
He paused the movie.
"What's wrong?" I asked. He looked at me and said something that made my blood run cold. "Mom, have you ever kept anything from me?" The question came out of nowhere. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe the storm, the power outage, the movie, it all brought it to the surface. I blinked. "Like what?" "I found something last week. In the attic. Letters. Old ones. From someone named Matthew. They were addressed to you. And they mention a baby."
Me.
I froze. The name Matthew hadn't passed my lips in over 16 years. I had buried that chapter. Hidden it under boxes and lies and motherhood. But it had clawed its way back. I turned to him, heart racing. "Caleb, I was going to tell you someday. But I didn't know how." "Tell me what?" His voice shook. "You're adopted," I said quietly. "But not in the way you think." He stared at me, jaw clenched, eyes wide. "So, you're not my mom?" "I am," I said quickly. "Not by blood, but by every other possible meaning. You were left at the hospital.
Alone.
I was volunteering that day. And I don't know what came over me, but I held you, and I just couldn't let go." Tears formed in his eyes. "Did Dad know?"
Yes.
"He loved you from the moment he saw you. He signed every paper. We both did. You were ours." He sat back, processing, breathing unevenly. The movie now played quietly in the background, its suspenseful soundtrack adding an unintentional score to our moment. So, I've never met my real parents.
No.
But there were letters. The ones you found. Your biological father wrote them. He left them in a box at the hospital. I kept them for you, just in case you ever wanted to know. Caleb didn't say anything for a long time. Just stared at the screen, his mind far away. I let the silence sit. Eventually, he looked at me again. Do I look like him? I pulled out my phone and opened a locked folder I hadn't touched in years. There was one photo, a young man in uniform, holding a newborn. I passed it to him. That's Matthew. And that's you. The day you were born. Caleb stared at the photo, eyes tracing every line of the face that resembled his. He looks like me, he said finally. Yes. But he left me. No, I said, gently placing my hand on his.
He died.
A week later. Car accident.
He was only 22.
There was no family. No mother, no father. He had no one to care for you. But he wrote those letters, hoping someone kind would find you. Tears fell down Caleb's face, and I pulled him into my arms. For the first time since he was a little boy, he didn't pull away. He let me hold him, like the world didn't matter outside our four walls. Eventually, the movie ended. We didn't notice. We sat there, still, hearts louder than the credits rolling. Later that night, he came into my room, holding the box of letters. Can we read them together? He asked. We sat cross-legged on the bed, unfolding years of ink and emotion. Some were funny, some heartbreaking, all of them full of hope. Caleb asked more questions. About the hospital, about his early days, about John. I answered each one as honestly as I could. As the sky began to lighten, he turned to me and whispered, "Thank you for choosing me." And I whispered back, "No. Thank you for making me a mother." The next morning, we decided to visit Matthew's grave. We found the location in one of the letters, tucked between yellowed paper and faded ink. Caleb placed a single white flower there and stood in silence for a long while. When we got home, he turned to me and said, "Can we have another movie night next Friday?" I smiled. Of course. But this time, we both knew it would never just be a movie night again. It would be the night everything changed. The night's secrets were unburied. The night a boy searching for his past, and a mother afraid of losing him, found something better than answers. They found the truth, and still chose love.